This is Mason Steele, and welcome to the second installment of the Witchwood review we got going on here every Friday. Today is Thursday, March 29th. Yes, 29th, and we're going to go over all the cards since the previous video. We're going to start out here with the Hunter Legendary 10 mana Emrys 8/8 Battlecry. Double the attack and health of all minions in your hand. That's pretty cool. How many cards in your hand by turn 10 are left? Who knows? I guess if you're playing control, maybe a lot. And if you made it to turn 10, there are probably better things you can be doing than casting this guy, but this guy is a lot of fun. So it's a super Timmy card here. The things you, I guess, look at immediately are cards with charge, try to end the game. King Crush doing 16 damage to the face. Seems like a pretty good thing to do. There's also the Leroy Jenkins and Faceless Manipulator. That would be 24 damage, so that's pretty cool. And you can try to get more Leroys with something like Stitch Tracker. If you move to Wild, you can try to cheat this guy into play early with something like Naga Sea Witch. And if you're doing Naga Sea Witch Giant Hunter, well, your Giants are going to be 16/16, I guess. Although once you have the Naga, you don't really need to be playing this. You can just play the Giants to win. So yeah, this might be a fun inclusion in that deck, kind of for the lulls. In general, a very cool card. I think even though it won't see competitive play, I don't think you're going to be too sad about opening this guy just because of how cool and things you can kind of experiment with. Seems pretty fun to me. Agatha the Witch, 8 mana hero, get 5 armor, Battlecry, deal 3 damage to all minions. Blizzard did reveal that this will be the only hero card or / Death Knight card in the new set, so Shaman is the lucky ones this time around. How good is this card? Well, 8 mana, it is a pretty steep price to ask, and you only do 3 damage to all minions. That might not be enough against a mid-range deck where they have bigger minions, so you might not be able to survive with this. The armor does help. What do you get for doing this? Well, besides the AoE, you get a new hero power, Bewitch, which makes every creature you play give you a random shaman spell in your hand, and this is a passive thing. So basically lose your hero power, and you get some passive things going on, which can be very valuable moving forward. So very grindy card here. Now, how good are random shaman spells? I've always found them to be kind of a hit or miss. Someone did the math on this, and they went through it and looked at it. Basically, it comes down to about 1/4 of the time you get a good spell. Half the time you're going to get a situationally good spell. So a spell that's pretty good in a certain situation. And then another 1/4 of the time, another 25% of the time, you're going to get a terrible spell. Like, what am I doing with this card? Why am I so unlucky, kind of thing. So there are some bad shaman spells you can get, but in general, 2/3 of the time or 75% of the time, you're going to get a situationally good to good spell. So not too disastrous. My big fear with this card is just 8 mana is too steep, and the 3 damage might not save you in time. So hopefully this works out, and we have a new shaman archetype going on here. Sort of value grindy shaman deck. So very cool card overall. Lord Godfrey, 7 mana 4/4 Battlecry. Deal 2 damage to all other minions. If any die, repeat this Battlecry. Yeah, we're all familiar with this. This is Defile on steroids. 2 mana Defile pretty much will be a 7 mana Twisting Nether. And at the end of the day, because it says all other minions, this guy's going to survive. So it's a 4/4 at the end. Yeah, this seems, we're getting to sort of Sunkeeper Tarim levels of power. And all your work kind of is for naught against this guy, right? You build the board, you get a nice lead, you get card advantage, you're making nice trades. All of a sudden, this guy comes down, and all your work is erased, and they have a 4/4, and you're like, what am I doing with my life? So yeah, this guy's just too powerful. I think it's a mistake. I mean, did Warlock really need something this good? The fact that it's not a demon actually helps them, because they can't get it pulled out and lose the battle cry. And if it was a demon, I think it would be kind of cool, because you'd have this weird pull and push and pull where, yeah, you want to play this in your deck because it's so powerful, but because it's a demon, it messes up your lackey synergies, right? So yeah, I just think this is too good, and it's going to be kind of a nightmare to play against. You can't play around 2 mana, 2 damage Defile. It was really hard to play around Defile. Playing around 2 damage Defile, I mean, forget about it. It's just you're not gonna be able to do it. Very strong card. I think a mistake. Coffin Crasher, 6 mana, 6/5. So it's got the Bone Drake stats and a Death Rattle like Bone Drake. However, unlike Bone Drake, this gets you tempo. It's gonna pull a Death Rattle minion from your hand directly into play once it dies. And because it has 6 attack, you're Your opponent really can't ignore it for too long, and you're going to get some value. So if you combine this guy with exactly Obsidian Statue, maybe you just play 2 Coffin Crashers, 2 Obsidian Statues, and you know, half the games or so, you're going to get the Coffin Crasher into early Statue. And anyone that's played Warlock recently knows how powerful getting an early taunt or earlier taunt can be, like the Void Lords. Now, this comes a bit later because of it's 6 mana, and you can't combo it with stuff like Dark Pact in Warlock, but getting a free early Obsidian Statue is very powerful. This guy loses a little bit of power in Standard because the N'Zoth is leaving the format. You can no longer sort of get a bunch of Obsidian Statues at the end of the game with this. Guy is, again, very strong with exactly Obsidian Statue. Now, do you play more Death Rattle cards to more oftenly activate this? Maybe you throw in a Cairn. Maybe you throw in Bone Drake. Who knows? But it is good tempo. But if you get exactly Obsidian Statue, it's kind of absurd. Gilda Crowskin, 6 mana, 3/7. Minions in your hand have Echo, so a very fun card here. The first thing that came to my mind with this card is comboing with Hobgoblin in Wild with Wisp, right? So you play this, play Hobgoblin, and then you can fill your board with 3/3 Wisps. Now, they all die to Hellfire. That's kind of a bummer, but that would be pretty fun to mess around with this. Anything like Zoo might take a look at this because you know, you drop your hand, you play this on 6, and then your next turn, well, any card you draw, any card you light tap into, you get to play over and over. Playing something like Void Walker for 1 over and over and over is very powerful, as we know, because of Void Lord. Those 1/3 taunts do, you know, cause trouble for your opponents, what they want to do with trading. A very powerful card once it survives. This combo is great with the Summoning Portal, and we might try that again. We did a meat wagon deck with Summoning Portal with a lot of 3-drops. 3-drops are the kind of the best things to play with the Portal because they turn into 1 mana cards, and that's kind of the best discount you can get, going from 3 to 1. And if all those have Echo, well, you can do a lot of fun things for sure. So this lady's really cool, and we're gonna have a lot of fun with it for sure. Don't think it's totally constructed viable, just because of other Warlock archetypes running around. Probably more powerful. Maybe this finds a home in exactly Zoo, though. Clockwork Automaton, 5 mana, 4/4 here. Double the damage and healing of your hero power. So it's sort of looking for Baku synergy here. If you're a Hunter, well, you get 2 mana, 6 damage to the face. That's pretty good. In Mage, you get 2 mana, 4 damage anywhere you want. Now that's looking pretty good too. So I think Hunter and Mage Baku decks is where this guy might find a home. Anything that says double in it is to be not ignored, because if you play 2 of them, start copying them, things can kind of scale out of hand. The body on this is pretty bad, and it will not work with certain classes. Obviously, stuff like Rogue and Paladin don't really do anything with this card. But I think exactly Hunter and Mage, it might have some weird applications in fun decks. Not a constructed playable card in the slightest, I don't think. Darius Crowley, 5 mana, 4/4 rush. Whenever this attacks and kills a minion, gain +2/+2. So very similar card to a card we've already seen in Warrior, the Militia Commander. I think that's the name of it, Militia Commander. Yeah, the 4 mana 5/5 rush that turns its attack to 2 after the turn. So I don't even think this is better than the Militia Commander. The fact that it's not terrible, but the fact that it's a legendary, it takes a big design hit, because will not be happy to open this card in a pack as a legendary. It's just kind of too boring. Even though it's not terrible, it's not going to be a feel-good situation to open it, right? I wouldn't be surprised if this gets played in a Tempo Warrior deck, even though it might be worse than the 4 mana version of it. Technically, anything with Rush can't be ignored. You get some value immediately. Muck Hunter, 5 mana, 5/8 rush. Battlecry, summon 2/1 Mucklings. 2/2/1 Mucklings for your opponent. What the heck is a Muckling? Well, I guess we'll find out. Not a Murloc. Obviously, any class that can deal with the 2/1s kind of for free is where you're looking to play this guy. Now, the obvious choice is Warrior because of exactly Blood Razor. You play this, you activate your Blood Razor Whirlwind, the 2/1s go down. Maybe you buffed your Frothing Berserker even more for more synergy there, and you damage your Muck Hunter to a 5/7 because of the Whirlwind, and maybe that opens up, you know, Battle Rage opportunities. The fact that he has Rush, though, does mean pretty easy to damage him or her. I guess it's a her. I'm not quite sure. It looks like a her. But yeah, any class that can deal with the Mucklings kind of for free. Another class that can do it for free is Warlock. If you get a Dreadlord out, well, at the end of the turn, the Mucklings will die for free. So that makes it kind of like another Doom Guard for a Warlock if you have exactly the the Dreadlord out. Now, if you can't deal with the 2/1s, you kind of have to play fair. Well, the 5/8 can go into one of them. You get a 5/6, and you give your opponent a 2/1. Now, theoretically, the 2/1 can then trade into your 5/6 and make it a 5/4, and then you just played a 5-mana 5/4, which is not very good. So again, you have to be able to deal with the 2/1s for this card to see play. The other application I can think of is, of course, Mind Control Tech. At 8 mana, you play this, give your opponent 2 creatures, you play Mind Control Tech, and then you deal something, hopefully not one of the 2/1s, and you can maybe get lucky there. I'm not sure about that, but I definitely see this seeing play in Warrior because of exactly Bloodrazor, and they even curve one after the other. Rotten Apple Bomb, 5 mana 4/5 taunt, death rattle, restore 4 health to your hero here. So we got the new kind of Sludge Belcher type of card. Neutral 5 mana minions have a little bit of a hole at that spot. It used to be that Sludge Belcher was kind of the go-to card. We lost Sludge Belcher, and then Azure Drake took over again. Some say Azure Drake was always the best one. And Azure Drake then got moved to Wild, and Cobalt Scalebane took the throne as the best neutral 5, especially in aggressive or tempo kind of decks. This guy more of a control, slower card you're going to play when you're trying to do fun things late game. One thing to note with this guy, it's a pretty sweet silence target for base decks / aggressive decks, because not only do you silence the taunt away, you silence the life gain away as well. So pretty good silence target for those aggressive base type decks. Wanted is a very cool rogue spell here at Epic. 4 mana, 3 damage to a minion. If it kills it, you add a coin to your hand. So kind of similar in cost to Flanking Strike. Basically, you're trading the 3/1 or the 3/3 beast on the board for a coin in your hand. I think in general, the Flanking Strike deal is a better deal. You can think of that coin like another card because of Auctioneer turns, and it would help that. I don't think Rogue plays this card for that kind of thing, though. I think the classic Rogue spells, classic Rogue removal spells are better than this. They're more deeply costed than this, so I don't think this sees play in that type of deck. However, this might see play in exactly a deck that's trying to ramp out to big things. Maybe cards we haven't seen yet. Maybe you're trying to get out Valera as fast as possible. I think this card fits in a deck where you're using the coin to ramp instead of sort of do auctioneer combos. I don't think this fits into the sort of the classic Miracle style of a deck, but I do think this card's very cool. We're definitely going to try it out in some sort of form. Whispering Woods, 4 mana Druid epic spell here. Summon a 1/1 wisp for each card in your hand. It looks like we got a new Druid archetype going on here, a hand Druid deck. And often this will be 4 mana for a 7/7 basically, right? If you have no board, 7 cards in hand, you get 7 1/1 wisps. And that's going to threaten lethal very quickly with Savage Roar. So a very strong thing here. I think this does in fact spawn a new archetype. If you deal with all the 1/1 wisps on turn 4, well, turn 5 is the living mana turn. Luckily for everybody, there is no more Mark of Lotus in Standard. It does leave being in Mean Streets of Gadgetzan for 1. Your opponent after living mana on 5 will not be able to do that play. They're going to just have to have a bunch of 2/2s, which can still be very threatening. And I think definitely, sees play in this type of a deck. Forest Guide, 4 mana 1/6. At the end of your turn, both players draw a card. Very cool card here. It does combo with Oaken Summons. And if you don't care that your opponent is getting extra cards, it could be very powerful. You're playing a deck like Burn Mage. Hopefully, because you're Druid, you have enough armor to sort of deal with their burst potential. So sort of a very scary card against certain classes. But at the end of the day, you could trick your opponent in them leaving this alive, assuming your cards are more powerful than their cards, especially when you combine them with tempo plays like Naturalize, right? I love that this guy has a Hobgoblin synergy along with the end of turn Drakarian Chanter synergy, because I do love to make those type of decks, and we're definitely going to take a look at this guy in those type of decks. Houndmaster Shaw is a Hunter Legendary here at 4 mana 3/6. Your other minions have Rush. That's very strong. I think this card is more powerful than it looks. and it might be even more powerful than I think. I do think this card's really good. We can look at this on turn 4, surviving because it has a huge body. What is the best minion to play on turn 5? Well, Knuckles is leaving standard. Knuckles would combo well because Knuckles already wants to rush because you get the face damage anyway. Turn 5 is the Spellstone turn, and that's kind of where this guy gets really out of control. If you can get 3 to 4 3/3 beasts on turn 5, well, even better if you can completely control the board with them. Right? Once you do that, now we're talking about 6 mana. That's the high main turn. If you rush your high main into something, the high main dies, you get the 2/2s, and those can rush too. So once you kind of chain this guy together with big cards, you're never going to lose board control. So it's a very high priority target for your opponent to kill. Very cool card for control style decks here trying to win the board. Because you're Hunter, you turn from a board control deck to a win the game deck very quickly because of cards like Eagle Hornbow and, of course, your Hero Power. So very strong card. Might be one of the best cards in the set so far. Scale Worm is a 4 mana 4/4 beast here. Very weird card. Battle Cry, if you're holding a dragon, it gains +1 attack and a rush. So it's a 5/4 rush with the dragon in hand. That's very, very strong, no doubt, on turn 4. How often is this going to be really good on turn 4 is another question. Kind of a meta-dependent question. If there's a lot of minions on the board on turns 2 and 3, then this guy gets really good. If it's a more controlling meta, there's less things on the board, well, guy's not that great. It's kind of a 5/4 that, you know, didn't do anything. Now, if it kills something like a 3/4, that's pretty strong. So it just depends on the meta. How often do you have a juicy target on turn 4 to ram into? It is a neutral. How many neutral dragons are we going to have? Does this get played in classes other than priest? That's hard to tell. We don't have all the information yet, but a 4 mana 5/4 rush is very strong in general. Vex Crow, 4 mana 3/3, again a beast. Whenever you cast a spell, summon a random 2-cost minion. So this card's got a lot of things wrong with it. 4 mana 3/3 is not good stats at all. Too bad it wasn't a 3/4, so it could survive the Hellfire. Making a bunch of 2 mana cards, again, walks into AoE. He himself is a very AoE-able body, and if you play a bunch of spells, they might get all AoE'd anyway. So a little bit awkward there, and I don't think this card sees any play at all. Vivid Nightmare. Choose a friendly minion, summon a copy of it with 1 health remaining. So a card very similar to this. It's very similar to Mirage Color, another 3 mana card. You would get a 2/3, and you make a copy of a creature in play, a 1/1. Now you're going to retain the attack when you play this, so this combo is better with Leroy Jenkins, obviously. And you can obviously heal the minion, possibly to, you know, keep it alive in Priest. What this does is let you play Mirage Collar without messing up the resurrections going on. Now, we do lose Barnes in Standard, so that doesn't necessarily matter as much in Standard because of losing Barnes. You can sort of Eternal Servitude what you want. This does give more sort of combos with Velen. Mirage Collar, Velen, Mind Blast is a thing you can do. And this gives you, you know, more ways to copy Velen for huge Mind Blasts. That's a kind of a wild thing to do because you kind of need Emperor to make Velen cheaper and the 3 mana thing cheaper as well. Kind of do them all in the same turn, but it gives you more ways to do that. Leroy Jenkins, again, can do 12 damage. So that might be the thing that people look at first. This is a cool card. It's just hard to see all the applications right away. Anytime you have a copy effect, it's gonna do something somewhere, and it's gonna be fun somewhere for sure. Blackwalled Pixie, 3 mana, 3/4. Refresh your hero power. So this is aimed at kind of a Baku deck. It's kind of a 7 mana card, however. I think this would be cooler if it was more geared toward Gen, because you have to hero power for 2, play this for 3, and then hero power again for 2 to technically make use out of the Battle Cry. So that's 7 mana. Well, what are you doing at 7 mana? Most likely you're Hunter, and you're doing 3 damage, and then playing this and doing another 3 damage. Or you're Mage, and you're doing a 2 damage ping, playing this and doing another 2 damage ping. If you're Druid, well, you get a free bite, technically. You are paying 7 for a 3/4 and a bite, so maybe not free. You are paying for the bite, but you get a bite. That's kind of cool, I guess. In Baku Paladin, you can do a pretty cool play on turn 7. You make 2 dudes, play the 3/4, and make 2 more dudes if you want to have more ways to spam the board in that type of a deck. Pretty cool card to throw in any deck that's playing Uther. Just give you more sort of combo potential, much like a Beardo, without actually having to do like combos and stuff. Maybe you just end up with Uther, you have a couple 2/2, horsemen out, and all of a sudden you use this to combo win the game. So could be good in that type of deck just as a 3-drop, and then later on has some combo potential with Uther. Nightmare Amalgam, 3 mana, 3/4, so it's got good stats, and it's all. What is all? Well, this is an elemental. Mech, Demon, Murloc, Dragon, Beast, Pirate, and Totem. Basically, it's just everything. And I think the most important tags right now are the Elemental and Dragon tag. The Dragon tag, very important, obviously, for Dragon in the hand cards. Possibly more Dragon in the hand cards we haven't seen yet. And because this is an Elemental 3-drop, I think it works really well with Volvir Stone Shaper. I believe that's the name of the card. Tar Creeper was the other 3 mana Elemental, but playing a taunt on 3 and then playing a 3/5 Divine Shield taunt on 4, not quite the best synergy. You kind of rather have an attacker behind the taunt. Maybe the attacker traded into a card, became a 3/1, and then you play the taunt to protect the 3/1. Whereas if you have a Tar Creeper in a taunt, well, you just have more taunts. So this is kind of cool in exactly elemental decks and obviously dragon decks. The fact that it's a totem is kind of interesting. In Wild, you got Totem Golem and this guy. They don't quite combo together. You can't go turn 2 Totem Golem, turn 3 Amalgam, and then throw the Totemic Might on them. That'd be kind of cool. But yeah, obviously you overload with the Golem. But who knows? Maybe there's some sort of Totemic Might deck with this guy in it. Possibly, right? The last card revealed before I put this video up was Ravencaller, 3 mana, 2/1. Gotta wonder if this started out as a 3 mana 2/2 and it proved to be too powerful. I guess we'll never know. The battle cry, add 2 random 1-cost minions to your hand. So a lot of things going on. This card's very cool. It's doing a lot of things. Obviously, it's sort of in the set to set up Baku decks where they have those awkward even turns, and you play the 1 mana creature after playing an odd cost card to fill out your mana crystals, right? A lot of things going on here. You can also play this in the hand druid deck, I guess, to fill up your hand for the turn 4 spell. 1-drops can definitely surprise you, and they can be powerful in the right situation. Cards like Voidwalker, cards like Mana Worm, cards like Glacial Shard, and Wax Elemental even can be very powerful tempo plays in the right situation. This could find a home in some sort of Quest Hunter deck as well. Is similar to a card, Igneous Elemental from Unguru, the 3 mana 2/3. Now the Death Rattle would have to go off before you got your 1-drops, and the 1-drops were just kind of vanilla 1/2s. Whereas this guy has the option to give you some powerful battle cries at 1 cost. So very cool card overall. Kind of excited to see how this guy fares in non-Baku decks, just as kind of a thing to do for value. Coming up, we got Rebuke, 2 mana Paladin spell. Enemy spells cost 5 more next turn. Very controversial card here. There are 2 camps. So one camp is it's busted, it's too good, it's crazy. The other camp is that you're not getting enough. You're not getting the body of Loatheb, so it's not worth a card in your deck. I fall into the camp of that it's crazy and it probably is a mistake, and you're going to be pulling your hair out because you're going to get rebuked 2 turns in a row, and you're going to remember how debilitating the Loatheb effect really is. Yeah, in a class like Paladin, I think this card really is gross because of the appearance of both 2 cards. 1, Call to Arms on 4 gets you ahead about 2 turns, and the fact that there's Divine Favor in Paladin means that they can afford to play a card like this that kind of maybe doesn't get used that well or used to marginal effect because of Divine Favor, they can afford, just throw this away at some point. And when it's good, it's really good. It's game-winning good, game-clinching good, especially leading into turns with Sunkeeper Tarim. Witchwood Apple, 2 mana, add 3 2/2 treants to your hand. The treants are going to be 2 mana 2/2s, I believe. That makes sense there. When I first saw this card, I was thinking, oh, can we do turn 3 Mountain Giant? No, you can't do turn 3 Mountain Giant. You can definitely do turn 4 Mountain Giant with the coin. No problem with this card. But yeah, so this obviously fits in the new Hand Druid archetype. I do think it is playable in there. to set up the whatever sort of hand cards we got going on besides the 4-mana spell. So yeah, I definitely think this card sees play because it looks like the hand druid at least has one very, very powerful card. So I do think this card does see play. Hunting Mastiff, Echo Rush, 2/1 Beast. And that's pretty cool. So it's a control card here. For 2 mana, you get sort of Bluegill Warrior that can be played over and over and over. Because it's a beast, it has extra synergies. Stuff like Scavenging Hyena. I love to see this guy. Now, you're kind of not getting too much tempo because you're paying 2 each time for this. But if you have something like Leok out, it can get pretty crazy. If you have 2 Leoks out, whoa, watch out. That's a lot of board clearing potential here. Red Band Wasp, 2-mana beast here. Another beast. It's got rush. It's a 1/3. Kind of an Amani Berserker 2.0, right? So you rush into something, it gets damage, it gets 3 attack. I would have definitely played this in the Garrosh the Ripper deck I put out recently, as it is another Amani Berserker and a great flip target with Void Ripper, right? You attack something, you flip it, and then you can enrage it again, so you can kind of save the health for more enraging. Very cool card. Gonna be a meta-dependent card in a Paladin-heavy world. This guy's pretty good. You got the Warpath for Paladin. Want more anti-Paladin where this is pretty good at attacking the Divine Shield minions. Very good combo even late in the game with Blood Razor. Basically turns this into a 2-mana, deal 4 damage to something. That's pretty good tempo for just 2 mana. Witch's Apprentice, 1-mana 0/1 beast. And more beast. This might be the most beastly set we got going here. So it's a add a random shaman spell to your hand here. So kind of like the new Babbling Book variant, new Swashbuckler, the Oracle from Priest. So a lot of these cards ring around almost one of every class at this point. How good is this? Well, I do think the 1/1s are generally better than the 0/1 taunt. However, this does give you turn 1 into turn 2 Flame Tongue synergy, which is not to be ignored, especially because Flame Tongue is a very important card for Shaman in general. Do you save this for the extra value in a Hagatha deck? Probably not. You probably can't afford to save this for that long if you're playing Hagatha, but who knows? It is a pretty good top deck once you have Hagatha because for 1 mana, you get 2 random Shaman spells to your hand. We talked about random Shaman spells at the start of the video. Basically, 1/4 of the time you're gonna get a really good spell. Half the time you're gonna get a situationally good spell, and then 1/4 of the time you kind of get the disaster spell where you're just like, what is this thing? This is terrible. Why am I so unlucky? Is this card good enough to see constructed play? I think so, because all the other ones like this I've definitely seen play at some point, and even though it's 0/1 instead of 1/1, which I do think is worse because of the Flame Tongue synergy, that might make it, not that bad.
Thanks for making it to the end of the video, guys. If you want to see more of this deck, please click on the link to the left. If you want to see more decks in this series, click on the link to the right. And if you want to see the channel grow, please click that subscribe button in the middle. To watch me build the decks live, I'm on Twitch. Follow the link below. Thanks, guys, and I will see you next time.